room, there would have been no Terrence Stewart at Rowan. It would be Joe Cassidy, because I didn't know about Terrence until I hired Joe. He should be the third person being inducted here today, and hopefully someday he will. We had a wonderful president named Herman James who was in love with basketball, and one day he said, "John, what do we got to do to get to the next level? What do we got to do?" And I got greedy immediately, as Joy knows I am, and I said, if we got a full-time assistant, that would be incredible. A lot of schools didn't have full-time head coaches, and here I'm asking for a full-time assistant. In God's timing at that time, Drexel had let Coach Burke go, and Coach Cassidy was available, and he knew all the top players in Philly, guys I didn't know. The first 19 days on campus, we had 19 straight visits of high-level guys that Coach Cass brought in. Because they were high-level guys, they were hard to get, but we got one of them. And that, of course, was Terrence Stewart. So, Joe, without you, there's none of those championships. There's not those great players, those different makers. And again, Terrence is here because of you and everything you did for us, too. So thanks, Joe. I'll talk about the players that are here in a moment, but just as a little prelude, I'll comment on the previous remarks that you made that were a lot spot on. A little controversial, but a lot spot on. And the part that was most spot on is no one on the internet was talking about how great Terrence Stewart was. No one was saying, where are you going to go to school? Where's your next visit? Who are you talking to? Josh, I know that's people's jobs now. People make a career of that. But back then, it wasn't. Guys didn't play for attention. He wasn't getting AAU free trips to Las Vegas and Florida. He was playing because he loved it and he wanted to be good. For zero attention. And I think that's what made him and players of his era great. They weren't playing to get things. They truly were playing for love of the game. Now, when you combine talent and a love of the game, what does that get you? First of all, how about a 110-12 record? How about 3 Final Fours? How about MVP of the NCAA tournament? How about leaving your school as the school's all-time leading scorer, even though you didn't play that much because your team had a big lead most of the time, and even though you shared the ball with other good players? Incredible stats. One of the things that helped our culture so much and didn't allow people to be selfish, see, we had such a good team when Terrence got there that he would end up being the school's all-time best, but he wasn't a starter his first 2 years. So the people who played with Terrence and the people who came after him, they couldn't complain about not starting or playing time because they looked at this guy, the best player in school history maybe, and he waited to his junior year to start and never complained a word. Never a word. Set the tone for the whole program. He pulled, listen, there's no Michael Jordan. I'm not losing my mind. You're not Michael Jordan, okay? You're pretty darn good, but you're not Michael Jordan. But he was like Michael Jordan one particular night. Coach Cassidy, Coach Martin will tell you, I would panic if everything wasn't exactly the way I wanted to. Well, the worst thing that could have happened going into the Elite 8 game was Terrence Stewart having the flu. That was the worst thing that could have happened. To this day, I tell my players are getting flu shots. I said, listen, one time we're in the NCAA tournament, my best player has the flu. You don't want that happening to you. Go get the shot, get it taken care of. I thought for sure we were going to lose. He could barely talk. He was exhausted. He's dehydrated. He couldn't eat anything. I really planned on him not playing, and it was no act. This guy had no ability to act. He was himself, and he was tough, and he was trying to be good, but I just didn't think he'd be able to play, and none of the coaches did. Well, just like Jordan in that championship series, where was it? Was it Utah when he did that? I mean, Terrence went out and was astounding. Scored 30-some points, shut down the other team's All-American, and he just willed his way to us to win. His senior year, when we won the national championship, was probably our most problematic year, largely because we were so talented. And our task was keeping guys focused, keeping them unselfish. And Terrence held that together because the new guys respected him, the old guys respected him, and he held it together. I really don't think we would have won a national championship that year, not without Terrence as a player. We were awfully talented, but because of the respect he commanded from his teammates. Any coach who thinks they win because of him is crazy. Most of us get it. It's players. Okay? I've had good years, mediocre years, and bad years. I'm the same all the time. The difference is the players. Every coach who rises, frankly, does so on the back of their players. And you had a big, strong back, Terrence. Come on back up. You helped raise Rowan. You helped raise me. Thank you so much. One of the all-time greats, Terrence Stewart.
Two things. First, I did take criticism well. I just never told you. Coach Cassius always complained to him. He brought me here. Second thing is, I did want to start. You just didn't start.
20? I gotta wait for 20, 30 years to hear this. But keep going. Get it all out.
The thing about it was, when I first got to Rowan, it's cliche, but I want to thank God first and foremost for being here. I thank the Small College Association for inducting me and thinking about me. But to start things off, I'm going to go off a little script to piggyback off what G said. When I first got to Rowan, I was the only freshman there. And one of the most important people that I watched that made a huge deal about how to carry myself and play basketball was a senior point guard named Paul Wiedemann. Here was a kid, not a kid, a grown man, who averaged maybe 4 points a game, was by far our best player on the floor. He was our leader, very unselfish, one of the best teammates you could ever have had. And he kind of told me and said, listen, you're talented, but talent only gets you so far. Here was a kid that worked his tail off. I mean, he was a senior. G loved him. He was going to play no matter what he did. Paul could have came in and kicked the ball in the stands. He still would have started. But that wasn't him. I mean, he was a guy that just laid it on the line every day in practice, like he didn't start. So watching him, it was fun to watch. He taught me how to play basketball. He most programs, he was a senior, and you see a senior doing this, you kind of like, well, this is the way things are done. So you kind of get that vibe of, okay, if I don't do it this way, then I'm not doing it right. So first and foremost, I thank Paul Wiedemann for showing me how to be a professional, how to be a great college basketball player, and show me how to be unselfish. Also, when I got there were some guys that we call old heads who had just left, and of course they thought they were still good. I mean, they come in, I'm the only freshman. They would come in and back and play. Some of them later became my frat brother. Well, he's here now, a guy named, what's your name? What's your name? My frat brother Rick, who probably like a mentor to me. He took me under his wing as a freshman. He took me under his wing and kind of told me about G, how G was, because G was crazy. Everybody knows G was very demanding, and he would curse you out. But Rick would tell me, listen, the man has your best interest at heart. He loves you. He just wants to see you get better. And Rick kind of just coached me through that whole freshman year to get me better, make me a stronger person, a better man. So thank Rick for that. Appreciate you, Rick. Love you, brother. I'm excited to be here today. I'm honored. I'm humble. Anybody that knows me, I hate talking about myself. I don't really talk about the Roman days because I feel like that's the past. I'm looking towards the future. But God has a way of blessing you when you least expect it. That's what I feel like today was. He definitely blessed me to see old friends and family members here. And just for this honor alone, I feel privileged to be a part of this special group. So I thank the Small College Association for that. There's so many people responsible for me standing here. Old teammates, of course my mom and my dad, my family now, teammates, coaches, competitors, they all push me to be the person I am now. But if I forget anybody, please forgive me, it's not intentional. First and foremost, like Coach G said, I wouldn't be here without my mom and my dad. What they instilled in me was hard work, perseverance, and a strong belief system. One of the things I did when I got to Rowan was I was a strong believer in myself. That came from my mom and my dad. My hard work came from my mom. I watched her raise 4 boys by herself. We never wanted for anything. She showered us with love. Where we grew up was not easy. Where we grew up was drug infested, and she treated it like it was heaven. Our house was probably the nicest house on the block, next to some other houses, because she was a firm believer of thinking outside of your surroundings, thinking outside of your environment. So what she did, what she taught me was, there's something bigger than the ghetto. There's something more out there for you. So when I was thinking about school, Coach Cass will tell you, I wasn't thinking about Rowan. I had the pipe dream of Division I. I wanted to go I wanted to go, it was a prep school at the time. Coach Cass came to me and was like, you need to be in school. And my mom was like, he's going to school. He's going to school. Coach Cass, he's going to school. So my mom instilled in me hard work and sacrifice. I love you, Mom. I will always love you for that. I appreciate you. My dad, hard worker to this day. Hard worker to this day. If he could still work now, he probably would still work, wouldn't he? I thank you for raising to be the man I am now. I appreciate you guys, and I will always love you. The question is, where do I begin? How do I get here? I wouldn't be here, like Coach G said, without Coach Cass. I'll begin on that very first practice. Coaches will know, the guys will know that have been there, they'll laugh. Coming from the city, guys from the city, I don't know if anybody from publicly here, we don't play a lot of defense. The one thing we don't do is defend. We know how to score the basketball. So defensive principles were not what we have in our mind. So we're doing a denying drill, the first drill of the day. I'm guarding Keith Wood, which is probably our best player on the wing. And I'm spinning like a top. Denying with the wrong hand. G's looking at Coach Cass like, what in the world did you bring me? This is our only freshman, and this is the kid you brought to me? So he tells me, listen, you got to deny with this hand. Me being a freshman, I know it all. Yeah, I got it. So we start the drill. I'm guarding Keith Wood, the best player. I go to deny with the wrong hand, miss the ball. Keith takes the ball, looks back at me, goes home and tomahawks him. If anybody know Keith Wood will let you know what he did when he did it. So he came back to me and said, listen, man, this ain't the place for you. I think you should go home, pack your stuff, and get the hell out of here. I looked at him like, what? Coach G looked at Cass like, this is going to be a long year for this kid. And it was. It was definitely a long year. But like I said, I learned a lot. The thing that I learned the most was I had to listen to my coaches. That was the one thing I wasn't used to doing, was listening. Coming from the city, you think you know it all. You had a little bit of success. You thought you can play the game of basketball. But that's what I was doing. I was playing the game of basketball. I wasn't learning the game of basketball. And that's what these guys taught me, was how to play basketball. With their knowledge, I went on to become the freshman of the year. It was safe to say I heard G loud and clear about playing defense because I played enough to get on the floor. Didn't play enough, but I played enough to get on the floor. The thing about what I also learned that day was I was probably guarding the best player in Division III, Keith Wood. So I knew if I could guard him, I could pretty much guard anybody. Guarding guys like Paul, guarding guys like Shea, who was a knock-him-down shooter. If you gave him 6 inches, that was 6 inches too much because he would hit in your face and laugh at you. Like I said, being the only freshman, it was tough because I had nobody else to depend on, nobody else to relate to. And what these guys did was they embraced me as a freshman and they taught me. The person I want to especially thank, like Coach G said, is Coach Cass because he's responsible for getting me to Rowan. I didn't know what you told G after the 19 visits. I think I probably was the only one that you probably didn't want and just happened to have, like, you know what, I'll take this guy. But Coach Cass, you believed in me. You saw something in me that a lot of other coaches did not. I didn't know you knew me at the time. But I thank God that you did know me. I thank God that you brought me to Rowan. You believed in me when everyone else doubted me, my ability, doubted my character. You believed in me and you brought me to Rowan. Because of that, I was successful. I think it worked out pretty well for us. I am being inducted today here, but it was not just me. Like Coach G said, I mean, starting with my freshman year, we had a lot of talent, We weren't your average D3 teams none of my 4 years. Like he said, I didn't even start till my junior year. My freshman year, I had all conference, all American, and I'm like, I don't know how I'm gonna play, but I'm gonna get some time. But the talent we had and the desire we had with our coaching staff was incredible. They pushed us. Some of them were part-time, some of them wasn't making no money, and they were there to work us out after practice. They was there to work us out before practice. Anything we wanted, they were there. I think that was a testament to their dedication and why we were so successful. Because, like I said, I mean, those guys put in a lot of hours, and it kind of made you feel good, like these people really care about you. The thing about G is he pushed his players probably more than when we wanted to be pushed. He would scream at you, he would curse you out, he would test you. But at the end of the day, in the practice, he would come in this soft voice and ask you, how's class? How's your parents? And I'm looking at this guy like, you just cursed me out, told me to get the F out of here. You can't guard dog crap. And then going to ask me, how am I doing? How do you think I'm doing? I'm about 5 seconds from killing you right now. I'm about 5 seconds from packing my stuff and leaving. But you don't realize it when you're a player. You realize it when you're older, that what he was doing is he was making men out of us. He was building our character. He was letting you know that we could always do better. He was pushing us to limits we didn't want to go to. And as players and coaches in this room, we all know players hate to be pushed. Now that I am a coach, I realize that players hate to be pushed. We want to operate in our comfort level, and it's our job, and it was his job was to push us. And it wasn't just him. The hours of Coach Martin with ball handling drills and shooting. Coach Lafferty, who's not here right now, is shooting drills. Coach Cass with the extensive scouting reports and just talking to us and going over stuff. I still remember you two guys arguing all the time about stats and plays and this ain't gonna work, Cass. You don't know what you're talking about. Some LaSalle guys know what he's talking about now, right? You crazy, that ain't gonna work. But the thing about Rowan that I remember the most was it was definitely a family environment. Like he said, Herman James, our president, he was probably at more games than anybody, sitting front row, cheering for everybody. Joy Rayner, our athletic director at the time, she was there, big help. Coach Gilmore, who was the soccer coach, he understood. I mean, it was all a big family. All the sports programs, they all worked together. We were all successful, football, basketball, soccer, baseball, and that was a testament to the administration. They really cared about athletics. They really cared about us as students. They made sure we had the best of everything. They made sure that we had tutors. They made sure that we got to class. They did everything they possibly could in their power to make sure we were successful as student athletes. I thank you guys for doing that and allowing me to be part of the family. I'm gonna go off the script here. The man, like I said, Coach Cass was responsible for me getting here. The man mostly, along with the other coaching staff, who made me the person I am now, who I still speak with to this day, is Coach John Giannini. Like I said, when I first got there, we weren't on the best of terms. I didn't always understand what you were trying to do. I didn't always understand the hollering and the cussing out. But the one thing I never doubted was your love for your players and that you would go the extra mile for us. There was nothing we wanted. You tried to get the best for us. You fought for us with the administration to go different places. You fought for those small things for us as players. You would try to make it a first-class program. You had a vision, and I was just happy to be a part of that vision. Along with the guys in the back, they'll tell you, we would have went through a wall for you. You talk about that day that I had the flu. It didn't matter what I had. We had a goal in mind, and I was going to fight with my brothers. I was going to fight with my brothers, and I was going to fight for the father figure that I was looking at as my coach. So what you taught me was to be a man at all times. You taught me to, even on your worst day, you got to show up. You got to show up. You never know what's going to happen when you show up. So I was just trying to show up. I was going to do whatever I needed to do that day, just to show up and be a part of the family, be a part of my brothers. As my coaching staff know now, I speak about family. I speak about fighting with your brothers. I speak about it's not about the coaching staff. You guys are the ones that go to war, the players. Those who you fight for. So you're only as strong as your leader, and you were definitely a great leader. There wasn't a player in that locker room who probably wouldn't have went through a wall for you. As you can see, there's a lot of old players here now. We all loved you. We all loved you. We all still love you. We all probably still keep in contact with you. We probably all still call you and bug you. But that's the type of person that you are, and that's the type of relationship you built with us, that we know that we can depend on you through anything. I still call you with the smallest things. And I know you were busy, especially even when you were going through the Sweet 16. I called you, you would get right back to me. So I appreciate you. I thank you for having me. I thank you for teaching me everything about basketball. I just thank you for everything. Like you said, we won a lot of games. But like I tell my players now, those records can be broken. The points can come down. The bonds you build and the relationships you build with your players and your coaches is what's most important. And that's what you never forget. I feel like I'm long-winded. We didn't lose a lot of games. Hope I'm not boring you guys.
No.
We didn't lose a lot of games. As Coach G said, we lost 10 games. That's, guys know in the back, the trips to Jersey City, the trips down to Stockton, the trips down to Trenton were battles. But there's two games that stick out the most, that really hurt me and shaped me the type of person I was going to be later. The first game was my sophomore year at NYU. Probably our best team we had at Rowan in all 4 years. We were very talented. We was at NYU. We lost on a putback free throw to send it into overtime. And as any basketball players know, and there's a debate now, if there's a down 3 points, what do? Do you let them take the shot or do you foul? We chose the foul. Guy makes the first one. All we got to do is box out and get the second rebound. I'm thinking we going home. We going to the Elite Eight. We going to the Final Four again. This is a done deal. All we got to do is box out, get the rebound. The guy shoots it. I don't remember what happened. I know we didn't get it, and they got it and put it back in. The game went overtime. I'm heartbroken. I'm crushed. I'm devastated. We're walking back toward the bench, and here's G, as always, the positive guy. We're all right. We're all right. We're going to be all right. I'm looking at him like, are you effing kidding me? Do you see how we just lost? Like, I don't know how to come back from that. And I didn't. I wound up fouling out in the first minute. We wound up losing the overtime. I think I stayed in that locker room for about a half hour crying. I didn't want to take my jersey off because it hurt so much. It hurt so much that I was like, I can't believe it, on something as simple as a box out. But that's one of the games that shaped who I was as a player. I tried to get revenge by scheduling NYU this past year. They beat us by 20. So I'm still looking for revenge with them. The other game was my junior year. We're in the Final Four. You'll probably remember this too. We're facing Steve Offer's team, Manchester, Indiana. They have a kid named Knock, who's probably the Larry Bird of Division III in my mind. We were watching film on this guy. He's catching from 30 feet, hitting threes with guys draped all over him, step back threes. He could throw it behind his back and he'll go in threes. This guy was good. And G came to me from that first day, couldn't play defense, spinning like a top. He says to me, listen, if you stop this kid, we'll win. Meet him, dream. Great, I got him. No problem. We're going to win this game. The kid goes on to score 30 plus. Shoot 50% from the three-point line, and we wound up losing in the Final Four to Manchester. That game just shaped me again because we got so close. Coming from the year before, took another step, and we got to the Final Four. And I watched that game about 50 times after that, just looking at the things I did wrong. And I took that and it fueled me for that next year. When we had a lot of transfers come in, I wasn't going to be denied again. I had that in my mind. I didn't care who we had. I wasn't going to be denied. If anyone that knows me, I'm not very good with names. So the kid I'm still looking for, I still remember his name. So when I go to Indiana and we play Manchester, I'm looking for him to get a rematch. So if anybody know Knock, please tell him I'm looking for him. We have some unfinished business. To conclude, I'm very excited to be inducted to the Hall of Fame. I'm very excited now to be a Division III coach of a small college. Hopefully I can have a successful career as my head coach did, win a national championship and coach 20 years. I would like to follow in his footsteps in that. The people that inspire me now are my wife and my kids who are sitting here now. My wife and my kids inspire me every day because no one believes and supports me more than those guys. I love you all and I thank you for putting up with me, especially my wife who has to hear all the complaining I do when I come home when we lose, and we lost a lot. So she has to hear a lot of complaining, crying and moaning about who did what. She listens to me. She gives advice. I'm always in a terrible mood, but she's always there listening to me. I thank you for that, babe. You continue to love me in spite of all that. It may not seem like I'm listening to your advice, but I am. What I do is I take it back to our coaching staff and pawn it off as my own advice and make it seem like it's mine. You are to me, you are a tight verse over a smooth beat. You're my rhythm to my rhyme. What you do is you compliment me so well. I'm very talkative, as people can see. You're very quiet and laid back, but you're always watching. And I'm very emotional, where I'm quick to respond. And what you taught me is sometimes people don't even know everything you're thinking. One of the problems I have with my players now is I'm brutally honest. And my staff will tell you almost to the point I'm too honest. So I thank you for that. I love you and I appreciate you. To my kids who put everything in perspective when I get home, to my daughter, Armani, to no one loves me more in this world than her. No one. I can do no wrong in her eyes. So when I get home and I'm complaining, and as coaches we all take the blame, we all blame ourselves for the losses, she tells me, she rubs my back, she tells me, it's not your fault, Daddy. Your players just suck. So I love her for that, for always having her daddy's back. To my youngest, who's only 5, and he's very knowledgeable of the game, but his knowledge is a little bit different. He comes and tells me, Daddy, why didn't such and such play? And if my staff knows, the guy's name is Saul. He's about 6'8", 300 pounds. Probably shouldn't be playing basketball. But the greatest kid off the court. That's his best friend. He tells me, why didn't you play Saul? That's why you lost. And if anybody who knows Saul, Saul can't make up the floor. So I don't know if we were one with Saul in the game, but that's his knowledge he gives me. To my oldest, Amiri, anytime we lose or win in practice, since he's always there, I must be a really bad coach because he's always offering to diagram plays for me. Even when we score 52 points, he would bring to me a play and say, this is what you need to be running. But if you only knew one thing that I'm thinking about, I wish you were 10 years older because I need a good guard. The guys on the South would know. The kid stays in the gym. Hope to one day to be a very good basketball. I hope he's better than me. I hope he achieves more than I do. I love him more than anything because he is me. He has a lot on his shoulders. I'm very hard on him, but one thing he does is he has my heart and he has my desire to win, and I love him for that. So I thank you, everybody. I just want to end by, I thank everybody for coming out. I thank you guys for listening to me. I thank you guys for supporting me, for loving me, for just being a great influence in my life. I mean, everyone in this room, even if I don't know you, you definitely impacted my life in some way because we're here. We're all part of the Small College Association. To the players that are leaving, good luck as seniors, good luck in the world. The one thing I tell my seniors is that degree is something they can't take away from you, so be proud of that. To all the coaches, good luck the following year. I didn't schedule any of you guys, so good luck. To G, just like I said, I owe you a lot. I hope one day I can repay you. Coach Cass, I owe you even more. I hope to one day finally beat you so I can have bragging rights over you. And just thank you guys for believing in me when no one did. I thank you for welcoming me into the family. To the former teammates, I thank you guys for coming back and supporting me. I never forgot you guys, even though you guys treated me awful, like a little kid. But I respect that, and I loved it, and I wouldn't have had it any other way. You guys made me the man I am now. You were definitely a part of our success. You paved the way for us to be successful. You taught us how to do it. You taught us what we call the Rowan way, and I hope we can continue that. So I thank you guys for being here. To my staff now, I thank you guys for supporting me and coming out and just dealing with me every day. I thank you guys for having me. Have a good night.
As soon as I heard that John was being inducted into the Hall of Fame, I told my husband that it was important for me to be here and for us to come and attend this. And then when I recently, very recently, was asked to introduce him tonight, again I was quite honored, having worked with him at Rowan. But then I got to thinking, a respected coach like John, tremendous person, did no one else want to introduce him? And if so, why not? So I thought maybe I should there's something I didn't know. You know, I thought maybe Paulie knew something I didn't know. And so, as everybody does today, I decided to Google John. So I got on the internet and I Googled Dr. John Giannini. There's quite a few of him. Same spelling, everything. In fact, one is a biology and a biochemist at St. Olaf's College in Minnesota. Now, I'm sure there are times John has wished that he was a biology professor at St. Olaf's College. Then there was another one who is a winemaker out in Fresno, California. And I'm sure there's times that John has wished he had access to those vineyards after a few games. But then I realized that I really know John. I know the real John Giannini, and I've known him since his arrival at Rowan in 1989. After all, we gave him his first head coaching job. And we decided that, you know, his 2 years under Coach Lou Henson at Illinois must have been a valuable experience. Obviously, he learned a lot. He was knowledgeable in the game. And we figured he was ready to become a head coach. And I knew, of course, you know, after all the calls we made and everything, he had just tremendous recommendations. So we thought we'd take a shot on him, give him a chance. And I knew how important it is when we bring in new coaches that they have a mentor. And so I thought John would need a mentor his first year, so I moved him into a 3x5 office with a women's basketball coach, 5'1" Dawn Bunting. She was his mentor. And I knew he learned many things that year. But fortunately, John is very well grounded, and a very well grounded individual, and they were great office mates. And Dawn could not be here, obviously, tonight, and I can't publicly give you Dawn's congratulations, but I'll interpret it as congratulations, she loves you, and she had some great times with you. But Dawn was a tremendous individual, and John and her got along great. But John certainly confirmed our decision to hire him when he consistently moved the program into national prominence. He served as head coach from '89 to '96, and he brought back an excitement and following for basketball that had everyone wanting to see our teams play. We added bleachers, we packed the gym, we had standing room only crowds, and he had the campus buzzing and people all in the community because of the type of players and the type of basketball that he brought back to Rowan. Our games with Richard Stockton were sold out, and there was a rivalry existed that was unprecedented, including college presidents vying for recognition during that time. He guided the Profs to the 1996 NCAA Division III National Championship and third place finishes in '95 and '93. Rowan defeated Hope College 100-93 in the final game, and Illinois Wesleyan 79-77 in the semis. He was chosen the NABC Coach of the Year and the Atlantic District Coach of the Year. In his 7 seasons, John compiled a 168-38 one-loss record for a .816 winning percentage. His teams posted 20-plus wins in 6 of his 7 seasons. And as Terrence has vividly described, John was crazy. John always had a plan. He was always had me in his office. He had an idea. We need to do this. We should do that. And of course, we had a president that was just tremendous. I mean, he was hiring buses to go everywhere. And John and I had some great and crazy conversations. But I knew he was a mover and a shaker. And I knew our program was going to go somewhere. And I knew John was going to go somewhere. After, it was going to be hard to keep him at Rowan. I remember one game we had a tremendous conference during that time, the New Jersey Athletic Conference, with the likes of William Patterson and Montclair and TCNJ, when they had Greg Grant, and of course there was Richard Stockton. And every game was a battle royal. It went down to the wire. And we had one game, and I don't remember the teams, but you couldn't breathe in that gym. It was packed. There was a call at the end of the game, and I look over, and John is flailing his arms, and he's laying on the floor. And I'm thinking, oh, this isn't good. And I look across the gym, and there's our president flailing his arms and rolling on the floor. And so I'm like, somebody said, I said, what can I say? The president's doing it too. I mean, that's how much people were involved in the time, in the games during that time of John's tenure. And during his tenure at Rowan, his teams advanced to the national tournament 5 times and won the New Jersey athletic title twice in '94 and '93. The Prosper named Team of the Year in '96, and the '92-'93 team set the school record for wins in a season with a mark of 29-2. John was named the Kodak Atlantic Region Co-Coach of the Year, and he was the Conference Coach of the Year in 1994. And also during his tenure, he was named Van Driver of the Year many times. I mean, we had brand new vans that somehow seemed to get, little dents here and there and stuff, but so he won that award too. John and his wife Dawn and their 2 daughters are still considered part of the Rowan family. In fact, Brianna obviously isn't here tonight, but she was born, I think, during one of our championship runs. And we were, trying to get John back and forth to the hospital. I think it was Buffalo up to the game so that he could be with Donna during the birth of his daughter and then coach the game. So they truly are part of the Rowan family. Academic success is an important part of who John is. He's a leader, a man of character, loyal, and a true friend. Record-breaking success and consistent winning go hand in hand with the career of John Giannini. His success has continued at Maine and now at LaSalle. I believe he is LaSalle's all-time winningest coach in Atlantic 10 play, the winningest coach in the history of Maine, and when he left Rowan, he was the winningest active NCAA Division III head coach. And in fact, very few people know his winning percentage at Rowan was better than John Wooden's winning percentage while he was at UCLA. There's so much more I could say, so many more stories I could tell, but Terrence covered quite a bit. It's my pleasure and honor to introduce our next inductee, John Giannini.
Let me try to sum up what it was like to work at Rowan and some of the things I had to overcome. It was a very veteran coaching staff, and I was the new kid on the block. Back then, we didn't have cell phones, so you had to go to your mailbox to get your messages. So I go to the mailbox, and I'm motivated off the chart. So I look at this one message, and it's a long African name, 7'1", Washington State, wants to transfer to Glassboro State, has relatives in the area. So I take that note and literally sprint to my office, close the door really quick. I dial the number, and it says, "Welcome, you've reached dial-a-prayer." I look out my window, and there's Gilmore and the swim coach just cracking up. Oh, then it gets better. Dawn and I raise money to buy a TV to watch videotape on. So the other coaches say, "You better lock your door. I mean, someone could steal that." I'm like, "That's a coach's office. It's no one. There's coaches all around here. No one's going to walk out. They'll see us." They keep saying, "You better lock your door." Well, sure enough, about a month later, I walk in and the TV's not there. And I'm like, "Come on, Danny. Come on, Tony." And they're like, "What are you talking about?" Well, sure enough, it goes on for about a month. And I can't figure it out. And Joy's like, John, I'm telling you, I don't know where it is. Finally, they have me file reports with security. I don't think it was until I actually went to security to file a report because they said, you gotta claim it stolen. It was finally then they broke down and gave me back my TV. So that's what I had to work with at Rowan. But now here's the other thing. I was out having lunch with Joe Cassidy and Art DePatri when my dad was visiting from Chicago. And he died suddenly at my house of a massive heart attack. And it was Danny, Tony, and the Rowan people who carried his body out of my home. When my daughter was born, our first daughter, Don and I waited a long time to have kids, and it was a big deal, and it was hard for Brianna to be born, and we weren't sure if she was going to be premature and the health, and she was born the day before we went to the Final Four. It was Rowan people who brought her home. It was a family. It was so a family. I've never been more happy in my life than I was those years at Rowan. We really had a blast. We cared for each other. We had lots of laughs. We had a lot of success. Terrence's comment about that NYU loss. I remember it like it was yesterday because it was the last game for a lot of guys I loved, and it probably was our most successful team on paper. But the advice I gave them after the game, just looking at Chris Martin and looking at Joe Cassidy and Bob Pedrick and Dave Lafferty and Ben Lynch, and I wanted to give them a last piece of advice. It was the last time I would ever be with these guys together as a group. And my advice to them was, your coaches are people you should emulate. Your coaches are great men. Your coaches are great husbands. Your coaches are great fathers. And you look at the Martin family today, you look at the Cassidy family, you look at the Pedrick family, you look at the Laffertys, and it's true. And I meant that so much. And that coaching staff was extremely special, and we have so much fun. I've tried to emulate it, and I hit it right at LaSalle. I wouldn't know what it would be like to work with the staff that I didn't love. So Coach Martin, Coach Cassidy, you guys are here. You guys know how much fun that was. As a matter of fact, I made Coach Cassidy and Betty Ann Brianna's godparents. So it really, truly was family. Then I had a young coach who walked into my office as a freshman and said, I want to learn how to coach. Little did I know that for the next 4 days, Neil Biscaldi would work as hard as any of our coaches on the coaching staff. And not surprisingly, he went on he's in a 22 second year now of coaching. He's an assistant at Wilkes. He went to the NCAA tournament with FDU, went to the conference championship game with St. Francis, New York. He's coached in D1, D2, D3, and I'm really waiting to see him get his head coaching job. And Neil not only helped our program, but again, our daughter spent a lot of time with Neil. We were family. He'd be over at the house. He'd take care of Brianna. The other person who helped us out with so much with that was Tiffany Harris. I love managers for these reasons. As wonderful as the players are, you guys are the face of the program, you guys make the program, but you get to play, and you get attention, and you get to be out there, and you get to battle, and you're under the lights, and you're on the stage. Managers are not in the limelight. They're not getting anything, they're all giving. And Tiffany, you gave us so much. You're a friend forever, and thank you for being here and telling me we feel the same way about her, okay? Now, players. I'm overwhelmed with you guys being here. I can't explain how much you mean to me. I'd be nothing without you guys. As a young grad assistant at North Texas, we set records with a great coach named Tommy Newman. We were rebuilding, we set records for the worst team in the history, defensively, in the history of the Southland Conference. Then I go to Illinois to be a grad assistant there, and we're #1 in the country. Coach Henson's a great coach. We do all the same drills. But I figured, did we set records for not being good at North Texas and set records for being great at Illinois? And I realized that it was all about players. You want to start things out right when you go on a jersey. My very first recruit was Greg Harris, a wonderful man, incredibly unselfish, a program guy, and a guy who sacrificed for his teammates. Greg, I could not have possibly had a better first recruit than you. Paul, Terrence was right. If you think you were my least favorite because I yelled at you so much, and I probably yelled at Paul, think of this, for as crazy as Terrence as I was, you're right, I probably yelled at Paul Wiedemann more than anyone else, and here's the secret why. Of all the great players I've coached, I don't know, deep down, I didn't know if we could win unless Paul was on the court. And if you notice, the time I yelled at you the most was if you got in foul trouble, probably. I felt we needed you that much. And of course, Paul's going to be a Hall of Fame coach potentially himself. He's heading that way, winning championships with Haddonfield every year. Paul, I just thank God that you transferred in, because if you came to me as a freshman, you probably would have said, I'm out of here, I can't take this anymore. But because it was your second school, you probably thought, I can't do that again. But you made us go. Shay, wonderful player, even better person. People talk about your shooting. I remember the big shots. I remember you are a designated guy for technical free throws. You made big ones against Stockton, big ones against Trenton. But there's nothing you could have done as a player that would top your overall goodness as a human being. Mo Hubbard and this first group, Mo, Roy, Rick the Ruler, I'll put you guys in together a little bit because I inherited you guys. I didn't pick you and you didn't pick me, okay? So, but you changed everything. You changed the culture. You made us win. You laid the foundation. I pushed you guys harder than it. These guys, did you guys have 5 a.m. practices? Did you, Paul? Did I ever wake you up at 5 a.m.? Woke you guys up at 5 a.m. all the time that first year, didn't I? And you guys, you just wanted to be good. You wanted to be pushed. And you guys were terrific. You were Mo, terrific player. Roy, we moved Roy into the starting lineup. We never lost another game the rest of the year, okay? And Rick the Ruler, what a great nickname, Rick the Ruler. You want your point guard to rule your team? That's what he did. Brought in a guy named Reggie Riggs. Took our talent to a whole nother level. Big time player. Listen, I'm blessed to coach in the Big Five. These guys here would have been just fine in the Big Five. Reggie, great player. Thank you so much for being here, and thank you so much for coming to Rowan. Will Hartsfield, one of the best players ever coached. Dominant, flat out dominant. And one of the funniest, nicest guys you'd ever be around. But listen, T, great player, complete player. This guy, you throw him the ball, it's a bucket every single time, a bucket or a foul. Thank you for coming to Rowan. Back there, Chuck Grasty, who just led his team to Abington High School to the Final Four in Pennsylvania State High School basketball. Spud Webb with the jump shot, and I'm not even joking. Listen, these guys, me winning all those games, these guys were off the charts. Oscar Williams, same thing, national championship year. Dave Lafferty says, Coach, you talk about hard work, but these guys ain't gonna believe you unless you start Oscar Williams. He's your hardest worker. If you don't start Oscar, you're being fake. We start Oscar, all of a sudden, we go on, win the national championship. Demetrius Poles, one of the top high school players in the country, has serious heart problems at St. Joe's. I'm with him in the operating room when he thinks about transferring, because to play again, they got to make sure his heart's okay. He wanted to play basketball again so bad. He made sure, went through every possible test with that heart condition. But he had so much time off, he struggled early on. And we had a talk after that trip to New York. I said, "Meet, I know you're frustrated, but you're still helping us. You're really a great player. We need you." And not only do we win the national championship with Demetrius, but the play we went on, the play against Illinois Wesleyan, was a tip-in to win by 2, but it was an effort play. There was nothing easy about it. It was him laying his body out, tapping that thing in, truly making a great play. So I owe everything to you guys. This has nothing to do with coaching. It really, really doesn't. Like I said, every great coach has had great players. So I love you guys. Non-Rowan people, thank you for enduring this. This was like our Rowan night over here, and I thank you for enduring it, because Terrence was talking about his career. I'm talking about guys who flat out made my career. So thank you for your patience. Last thing I'll say, Shaka Smart, D3 player. Brad Stevens, D3 player. Phil Martelli, D3 player. I came from D3. Once again, we played for love of the game. I coach at a high level. Very few guys are playing in the NBA. It's about so much more than basketball. If you're at a school with a coach who loves you, and you're getting better, and you're with a teammate you love, and you have a chance to win, and you're learning those life lessons, I tell every recruit, it doesn't matter what conference you play in, it doesn't matter what level you play in. What matters is you're a place where you feel wanted, and you can be successful, because that's what sets you up for the rest of your life. Forget about labels. I think these guys are big-time players. I think everyone on it here tonight is a big-time player, because you're going to do big-time things in life. So Thank you for having me. Thank you for this program.